Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Now I know what you're thinking. Who are you? Yes, I know, I changed my profile picture, but just look at this wonderful portrait. This was made by a very good friend and artist called Kokishi, so go follow him everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, I leave a couple links down there in the description. By the way, his commissions are currently open, and let me tell you, they're cheap. What wasn't cheap on the other hand was the iKBC CD87, aka the Vaxei keyboard. As you may remember, between shipping and proxying, I ended up spending a total of $180, which is nuts. So today, I'm gonna take the whole keyboard apart and heavily mod it to truly make it worth that price. Before I do that, however, I've been trying very hard to come up with a funny joke for this, but honestly, all I have to say is, we made it. Cause today's sponsor is Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is a fantasy-themed RPG game featuring global PvP, PvE boss battles, more than 600 champions, and quite the variety of bosses too. Speaking of bosses, today I wanna talk about the Guardian of the Void Keep, Malek Kavar. He was a priest of the light at one point, but got exiled from his fellow priest colleagues due to his passion and affiliation with darkness. Lucky for us, he went off to master the magic of the void, so we have a nice supply of void potions to ascend our champions with. Problem is, he's not giving up his potions without a fight. The main trick to fighting Malek is dealing with all the poison he puts out. Not only does he have an ability that deals all the poison damage you could take all at once, which can nuke your whole team if you're not careful, his poison debuffs can't be blocked or resisted either, so you'll need shield buffs and healing to counteract the damage, or just the ability to remove the buffs directly and often. If you can cleanse debuffs on this boss, you'll be good to go, since he doesn't have many other tools at his disposal. Raid's got a ton of things happening this month, with a fresh rotation of the brutal Hydra boss, and a ton of events and tournaments every single day, including some special Valentine's Day events where you can get your hands on a brand new legendary champion. This is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen, you'll get cool bonuses. We're talking a free champion, Aina, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in game. All this treasure will be waiting for you right here. Can you see that? Hopefully you can. So what are you waiting for? The rewards will only be available to new players for the next 30 days, so go ahead and get started with Raid Shadow Legends today. Okay, let's go. The CD87 has a screwless design, meaning the top frame snaps onto the bottom with numerous plastic clips, and in order to disassemble it, all I have to do is use a prying tool to get it open. I always get a bit scared of doing this, since it's gonna be very tight, but in my experience, as long as I can use another plastic tool, I'm gonna feel way more confident and less likely to scratch the insides and potentially damage the clips. Top frame is gone, so let's lift up the plate and... What? Did someone try to tape mod this already? Oh well. Unplug the connector and we're ready to start working on our case. I originally thought about going fancy with it and adding some sort of extra weight, but I opted to play it safe. I'm just gonna foam it up real good to get rid of that hollow feel and hopefully achieve the good old fuck we all know and love. I find case filling to be quite the relaxing activity. I love cutting all the small pieces and fit them in like a puzzle, it's pretty cool. And in this case, no pun intended, since it's high profile and it gets taller each row, I have to adapt by adding extra layers of foam to follow the general shape. A lot of cuts and mess on my desk later, the case is ready to go. Looking at this very red PCB, I noticed the presence of 2 extra joints, which I thought was pretty interesting. If I were motivated enough, I could solder in some LEDs for an even crazier mod, but I don't think it's worth it. LEDs are so 2010, am I right? It's not like I'm lazy or anything, no way. Desoldering is usually the hardest part, and since I currently don't have a desoldering gun, I'm gonna use my trusted pump and brand new TS100 iron. As expected, the cheap solder from the board is damn near unsuckable, so after adding a tiny bit of my own on each and every single joint, I was able to desolder relatively quickly with pretty good consistency. Let me tell you, technology is great, but nothing feels better than sucking all the solder out first try. I don't need a desoldering gun. I'm totally fine, guys, trust me, and please stop asking me about it. For the switches, given the general black and white theme of the board, or white on black rather, I opted to go for some gutter on black inks. But here's the kicker, once again due to the sheer beauty of living in Italy, they weren't delivered to me. So what am I gonna do? Be patient, order them again and wait? Or use some more expensive high-end switches that I lubed myself and meant to use for a more serious custom mechanical keyboard build in the future? C3 Tangerine switches. These are among the smoothest stock linears out there and they look absolutely gorgeous with their bright orange housing. As I mentioned earlier, I lubed these myself, but since I'm going all in, I might as well TX film them for reduced wobble and some extra character. The Tangerine is a 5-pin switch and the PCB only supports 3, so I'm gonna have to snip the legs off with a nail cutter. I'm sorry keyboard enthusiasts watching, you may wanna close your eyes. All the switches have been successfully lubed, filmed and circumcised, so I can stick them back in the plate and resolder. Gotta say, they look good. Hey, remember when I said desoldering was the hardest part? Boy was I wrong. The CD87 comes with pretty standard pre-lubed cherry stabilizers, which aren't particularly great. Between cleaning them up, clipping, straightening the wires, lubing, messing up, relubing, messing up again, I spent a good afternoon on this. And I can't show it to you cause I forgot to hit the start recording button on OBS. After getting extremely frustrated, I opted to use some Durock plate mounted stabs I had laying around. They're not black, but so aren't the switches, and since it's a high profile case, no one will know. For a very long time, I meant to experiment around with the Holy mod, where you take a small piece of band-aid and place it inside the stabilizer housing to remove rattle. This is all well and good, but according to some, band-aids have the tendency to deteriorate and get a bit mushy over time. Besides, various YouTube videos popped up of people using clear tape as opposed to band-aids, producing some pretty interesting results. Here's the thing though, at this stage I was 100% done with stabilizers, my brain just couldn't take it anymore, so instead of wholly modding, boring, tedious, takes a long time, I applied tape directly on the wire, lubed it, very light coating inside the housing, and the results were pretty damn good. Of course, with this method you have to be careful not to put too much tape on the wire, otherwise it'll get stuck and not move properly. Despite being supposedly quicker than wholly modding, I still spent a long time tuning and mastering the art of tape to find good sound consistency across the stabilizers, which I eventually did, so I could finally solder the last remaining switches. At this point, I should have plugged my keyboard in to verify every key was working properly, but I instantly went for that last spicy touch of 3 layers of tape on the PCB, poking holes where needed to fit in the case. Turns out the F4 key didn't work since the pin was completely bent, so I took those layers off to desolder and resolder the switch. With the top frame snapped back in, all there was left were the keycaps. As I said multiple times, I'm part of PBT gang, and since the PCB is north facing anyway, instead of going for cherry profile, I went for ASA white on black double shot PBT Acco keycaps. These are in stock at pretty good value, nicely packaged, and most of all, they're very tall for that deep sound signature. There's not much to say at this point. The kit comes with some extra white keycaps, but in order to stay loyal to the original minimalistic look of the board, I went for the full white on black style. I'm extremely pleased with the way the keyboard looks and feels, and I think this bad boy is finally worth its price. By the way, I played Osu for a bit, and these tall keycaps are actually quite nice, so I ended up swapping them on my keypad too. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, please. And now, I leave you all to the before and after typing test. Have a good one, guys.